It's mid-spring here in Baltimore, and we have our first peonies of the season. And so I thought it would be a good reason to make a haul video and show you some of what we have in the shop this week. My name's Ellen Frost. I've been a florist now for 17 years this month. I am building a community of flower nerds online, and I love to share all of my flower info with you. So today I'm going to show you a few of the flowers that we have new in the shop this week. Of course, peonies are the first one I'm going to show you because everybody's favorite, and it's really the most exciting new flower that we have. Peonies by far are people's favorite flower of our customers, and they go crazy when peonies start. We see a big uptick in sales when peonies come, and this is our first week. So these peonies that we have this week are actually an early variety. They're called Mel's Peony. We don't actually know the variety name. It's a single early peony, a single early pink. And it was originally grown by a farmer here in Baltimore, Mel Heath. And he passed away, but his flowers were dug up by some other flower friends of ours, Seaberry Farm. And now these flowers are grown at Seaberry's farm. So everybody knows the story of Mel's Peonies. We've been telling this story since Mel died about 10 years ago, and everybody gets really excited for these peonies. So a couple things I'll say about them. One is that the proper harvest stage of peonies is what we call marshmallow stage, and that is when you can see the bloom is kind of puffed up. This bud is puffed up. You know, sometimes you'll see peony buds like rock hard, little kind of hard cherries. That is not the time to harvest. You really want to wait till it's colored up, puffed up, and when you feel it, it's kind of spongy like a marshmallow. That is the proper stage of harvest. These single pinks open very quickly from this bud stage. They really can open within just a couple of hours. And the vase life for these is about 5 days. Peonies, depending on what kind you have, the vase life could be anywhere from, 3 days if you were using like a tree peony or something like that, maybe only 2 days, to maybe a week or 10 days if you're using maybe red charm or some of these other bomb doubles that are really big. So this is just a single pink. It's really beautiful. It doesn't have really a fragrance like a floral fragrance. You can smell the distinct peony smell, but it doesn't have like a floral fragrance. The petals are really beautiful. They almost look like crepe paper. They're really pretty delicate. And as the bloom fades, the petals get more sort of blushy and then almost to a white before they fall off. If you've ever had peonies in your house, all peonies do this. They live for a few days in the vase, and then when they are done, they just drop all of their petals at once. It's actually pretty hilarious if you have something like a bomb double, like red charm, where like 1,000 petals fall on the table at the same time. So this is a single pink, first ones of the season. We'll have these for about 2 weeks, and then our main peony grower in Virginia will start to have peonies the first week of May. So we'll have those for about 4 weeks. The season is really short. That's also why people are really excited and can't wait to get their hands on peonies. So first peonies of the season, very exciting. All right, the next flower I want to show you that we have new in the shop this week is Bells of Ireland. I love Bells of Ireland. They are one of my favorite flowers this time of year. They have a very distinct fragrance, which some people love and some people do not love. I love it. It sort of smells like, I think, like Irish spring soap, which I do like. It is very fresh smelling. And Bells of Ireland, you know, they have a very distinct look, right? They're like this bright sort of chartreuse green with their little bells going up the stem. So, you know, it's a spike flower or line flower. One thing I wanted to show you, though, is the difference in the way that people present or sell Bells of Ireland to us, because some people sell them with the leaves on. So you can see, if you've never seen Bells of Ireland before the leaves are picked off, you can almost not even tell that they are Bells of Ireland because the leaves cover up so many of the bells. Some people trim the leaves off before they sell us the bells. And there is a difference in price usually. So These with the leaves off are usually more expensive. These with the leaves on are usually less expensive because the grower thinks that I am going to take the leaves off, so that's my time. So the stems are a little bit cheaper. And I want to show you just how you take off the leaves. So you can see these leaves here. Do not, if you're a designer or a farmer who is designing, do not leave the leaves on when you are designing. That's a no-go. Always take the leaves off. You can pull the leaves off, but I find that they're kind of hard sometimes to get off that way. So I usually just go along the stem and trim them. A lot of times I don't trim leaves off other things, but these seem to be, they go pretty quickly that way. And this is really the way that you want to use it in a design, with all of the leaves off. And bells of Ireland are cool because sometimes you'll get like a curvy, cool stem. And I just love them. They smell great. I'd love to hear if you think that they smell great or if you do not like the smell. So bells of Ireland, new in the shop this week. All right, the next flower that we have new in the shop this week is lilac, and I love lilac. Lilac reminds me of growing up in Buffalo. My grandma had these in the backyard of her house, and they bloomed later than they bloom here. So they bloomed when we were getting out of school. So I have like really distinct memories of like the last day of school and coming home and wanting to go swimming and the lilacs blooming and just smelling so fragrant in the yard. So that was probably like mid-June. So this is, you know, the end of April, and we are having lilacs already. The fragrance is amazing. They're one of my favorite flower scents. And I wanted to show you just again how some of the growers send them to us. Some growers leave a lot of these leaves on when they sell them to us, and some clean them off totally so that it's just the flowers on the stems. Either way, I think you should, if you're a farmer selling lilac, you should put on your availability list whether it comes with leaves or not. The leaves are not going to be used by a designer. All the leaves do for lilac is take water away from the bloom. So when we get them like this, we are really going to trim all of these leaves off the stem so that we're using them just with the bloom here. And that really, these are pretty easy to take off with your hands too if you didn't want to use clippers, but we really do take off all those leaves and just use the stems as blooms. So these are purple. Lilac come in, we have a grower that grows them in white, pink, lavender, and then this purple shade. Just really one of my favorite spring flowers. We're coming to the end of bulb season in terms of daffodils and tulips. So daffodils are done. Tulips are on their way out. We've got maybe another week or two, but we do have some late blooming bulbs that are just starting, and allium is one of them. Allium is actually a flowering onion, so if you have never used this, one precaution is that they can smell a little oniony. So just watch that, especially when you cut the stems. Those fresh cut stems are going to have a little bit of an oniony smell. You don't really smell it so much with the blooms with this one. You can with some varieties, but not with this one. So these are allium, very tall, and they kind of have like a starburst or a fireworks shape. They're really fun in designs. People love them as single stems. We have a lot of customers that buy them as single stems. They're also great in wrapped bouquets because they add a lot of interest and a lot of fun color and a lot of mass. They take up a lot of room in bouquets. And look at those, the stem length on these. These are really great. These are also used a lot in like ikebana or really minimalist designs where you're looking for some really distinct line in your design. Allium can act as a great align flower in that way. So allium's new this week. We love it. We'll probably have it for a couple more weeks. There's lots of varieties, so this is just the first one that's blooming. It's always fun when we have something totally new to us in the shop. So this week, this is a totally new shrub to us. It's called Pearlbush, or I think the botanical name is Exacordia. And I believe it's only going to be available 1 week. So I think the grower that we get it from only had a few shrubs and cut it just last week. So it's really pretty. It's a woody stem, and the flowers were harvested closed. and they're opening to these very cute, white, delicate flowers. It kind of reminds me of mock orange, which will be coming in a few weeks, which I love. It does not, however, have the fragrance of mock orange. It has kind of that look, and it has a little bit of a droop, which is kind of cool. I'm not so sure that I love the foliage. The foliage seems to be a little, I don't know, not impressive, and it did droop a little bit yesterday when I was using it. So I'm doing a testing a few stems, and I would recommend that to anybody who, if you're buying something new for the first time, it's always good to test it before sending it out into the world. So when we got this week from the grower, we trimmed a couple of stems and put them in a vase here at the shop, where we just ignore it for the whole week. So we just watch it open, we watch how long it takes to open, we watch if there's any signs of wilting, and then we want to see how long it lives in the vase. So we're doing some tests. So far, so good. The blooms are really beautiful. It's just the foliage that I'm having a little bit of an issue with, mostly because I don't like how it looks and it seems to be a little droopy. But otherwise, a beautiful new to us flower, Pearlbush or Exocordia. Line flower season is here, or it's just beginning. And we're starting to see lots of line flowers become available. So snaps, stock, foxglove, larkspur, delphinium, hollyhocks, so many line flowers. So we got our first ones this week. This is a white delphinium, and this is probably the first cut, so it's a little bit shorter than it would be, even though the stem length is great. We'll start to see these at 2 feet, 2.5 feet tall in the next couple of weeks. Delphinium comes in white, but really what it's known for is coming in these blues and purples. And as we move into May, we're going to see a lot of line flowers and a lot of blues and purples, which are just really fun and a great change in design. I feel like early spring is so saturated and sort of celebrating spring coming on, which is great, but we love moving into more muted, a more muted palette later in the spring. So we're excited about delphinium. And then lastly, new this week is my by far all-time favorite foliage, variegated Solomon seal. So variegated Solomon seal is a perennial foliage. It does come in a plain green, like a straight green, but really if you're a grower trying to sell to a florist, the variegated leaves are the best. That's the best color. These are very easy to grow. I grow them, and I'm not really good at growing anything. I can grow these in my garden, and they spread pretty well too. So if you have a clump of them, they will spread. So it's a cost-effective foliage to grow too. A couple of things I'll say about this foliage. This is a foliage that once you harvest it correctly, it can last for weeks in the vase. The proper harvest stage is not this. So this was harvested a little early, and you can tell because you see these little flower blooms on here. You really want to wait until the flowers have shriveled up and fallen off, because this is just a very new growth, and these flowers, that indicates that the foliage is still a little too young to be harvested. We do have a grower that harvested some this week. It was a little bit early, but it did pretty well in the vase. It didn't wilt, but you can see that the leaves look kind of soft. But if you harvest it later, once these flowers have fallen off, the leaves are going to be really stiff and really strong, and they're definitely not going to wilt. And like I said, you can use them, you can have them in the cooler. They last for weeks on end. Variegated Solomon seal, definitely my favorite foliage. I feel like it's a little under the radar. I don't think a lot of people use it, especially florists, but it's a really terrific foliage. So for the next few weeks, it'll be in bloom here, and you should definitely try to get your hands on it. So that's what's new in the shop this week. Really excited for the change of season, moving into late spring, and excited to design with all of these new flowers.